Action figure reboots. Sponsored by Pearson Art.
Hello, and welcome back. Today we're looking at a Mego Romulan. He was part of the Star Trek Alien series. I'm not really sure what year he was released, maybe 1975. I really don't know. Even though I wasn't a big Star Trek fan as a kid, I do remember seeing this in the store and thinking it was a pretty cool figure. I still think it's a cool figure. It's just not very accurate to the character design. I'm a little surprised they didn't design it more like the animated series. That might have been kind of cool, and a lot closer to the original source material. They did get the headgear right. There were Romulans that wore that type of helmet. Mego just called this the Romulan, but the head sculpt is clearly based on the actor that played the Romulan commander, and that would be the late great Mark Lenard. Mark Lenard was an actor that had quite the history with Star Trek. In addition to him playing the Romulan commander, he also played Sarek, Mr. Spock's father, in the live action and the animated series. And he also played a Klingon in Star Trek The Motion Picture. That's a pretty good hat trick. I like this head sculpt. And I think it's a shame that Mego didn't just release it like this. I don't know. Maybe they thought it might have confused consumers, i.e., parents, because it looks so similar to Mr. Spock. Or maybe they just thought it was a really cool helmet, which it is. But I've said this before, I'm not really a big fan of helmets or cowls or masks that come off. It never works. So for this reboot, I'm just going to go with the head. This figure has actually been released in three separate production runs. Mego made theirs in the mid 70s. A company called MC, which was founded by Doc Mego, released their version in the late 2000s. And just recently, New Mego came out with their version. They renamed him the Romulan Commander and gave him a more accurate suit. So, because of this, I'd like to use parts from all three eras. For the head, I'm going to go with this MC version. I would kind of like to use an original, but those are kind of pricey and still sought after by collectors, and I'd like to leave it to them. This is a pretty good reproduction, and I knew that if I got one, I'd want to change it up a little bit. So I picked up one of these and took the head and modified it, and this is what I came up with. As you can see, I didn't do much. I just thickened up the eyebrows and repainted the hair to match it. I was trying to go for a little bit more Mark Lenard, since this figure is not just the Romulan anymore, but the Romulan commander. I like the way this came out. I'm happy with the result. So now we need a body. For that, I'm going to put together a combination of these two bodies. Sort of like what I did when I put together my Klingon. When I put that together, I modified the chest piece. But this time, instead of doing that, I modified the pelvis instead. So what I'm going to be going with here is from the first body, the Type 1, I'm going to be using the chest and the arms. From the Type 2, I'm going to be using the hands, the pelvis, and the legs. It's kind of odd that Mego never used this body for their Romulan. If they would have made the suit a little bit more like the cartoon or TV show, they could have actually used these legs. Instead, they had to make a set of boots just for him. I don't know. Seems like kind of a missed opportunity. If anything, it would have been a little bit cheaper, production wise. I'm only mentioning this because the suit that I'm using, which is this, they did the same thing. I don't understand it. Why would you use these same boots when you could have just used the bootlegs? I don't know. Regardless, this is the suit I'm going with. So I picked this up off of eBay and I like it. I think it's perfect. But I wanted to make a few changes to it. I don't really like the placement of the Velcro pieces, so I ended up getting rid of them. What I ended up doing was putting the Velcro on the shoulder, just one piece, And I used the kind with the adhesive so there was no sewing. I also got rid of the Velcro in the back, and I wanted to tighten up the collar a bit, so I added a snap. And lastly, I wasn't really feeling the belt, so instead of using this one, I'm going to go with this, the one from the Andorian figure. I like this. I think it's a lot more sturdier, has a strap in the back, and it fits better too. You could actually purchase one of these belts separately from Doc Mego's website. I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, we got all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. All right, I dig this. As Romulan commanders go, I think this came out pretty good. I like the bootlegs. I think they work perfect for this suit. I think that the suit has a really good fit too. I like mixing these two bodies together. It gives you kind of a best of both worlds thing. I think they work well together for certain figures. I feel that the earlier bodies had better shoulders. That's why this is important for this one, because it allows the shoulder piece to fit nicer. And that Velcro really holding on there. That thing isn't going anywhere. The collar I like. I think that came out nice and tight. And I like this belt. It has a good fit. I actually think this looks better on the Romulan than it did on the Andorian. But what I like most of all is the head sculpt. I'm glad there was a reproduction out there that I could use. Because of that, I was able to do my little tribute to Mark Leonard. You were awesome, bro. Rest in peace. So I guess that about wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember and never forget, think outside the box.